hello again.
Hello again.
Welcome to the second meeting of our quest for your independence, sir.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be back, I guess.
Yeah. Once again, we have our wonderful recorded session going on. A little bit good for the hair.
Yeah, of course. I did it up for you today.
So today's meeting is going to be about planning for an intervention, which would be the way that we'll actually be going about getting you to your goals.
Okay.
And so last meeting we talked about you
Right.
and got kind of an assessment of who you are as a person and everything. I have a couple more things that I'd like to touch on
Okay.
as we go through this meeting, but yeah, got a pretty broad assessment, and then going through, we're going to just kind of plan towards getting you into your own house,
Okay.
which was a goal that we had
Yes.
at the end of last meeting.
Yes, that's very
Then
important to me.
Working towards ending discrimination for you at your place of employment, which was KFC, right?
That was what it was the first time. I now work at an auto plant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I am a part of the office portion of the auto plant. I interact with customers and talk with them and
Okay.
receive phone calls. And it was at the auto plant where the discrimination took place. So I had a boss, and he was great. Like, I loved the guy. He was about 65. He was really nice about my whole situation with my leg. When it wasn't working, he if I called in, obviously I had to call in. I just couldn't not show up. I would call in and say, you know, my leg is pretty much immobile today. The medicine's not doing anything, and neither is the brace.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna be able to make it in. And he was really understanding about that. But then he retired. We had his party. It was really fun. We had cake.
Nice.
And then the new boss who came in isn't accommodating, I guess, for my handicap. And it's not just the lack of being accommodating, because I can understand that if it's a job, right? So I should be treated like everyone else, and that's understandable. But the fact is, I'm not being treated like everyone else. My expectations are the same in the job place, but he likes to point out my disability times when he talks to me. When the issue of me not coming to work comes up, he's been known to call me a crip or cripple.
Right.
And that's honestly what I have the problem with. I don't mind being held to the same standard when it comes to attendance at the workplace. I understand that that's how it needs to be. You know, I want to be able to do as much as I can, but
Yeah.
Right now I live in a house that I have to go up and down stairs, and if my leg's not working that day, how am I supposed to get to work if I can't even make it downstairs?
Right.
Which then brings up, you know, the second goal of me moving out, because there's the handicap accessible apartments that are also in Warsaw,
Mm-hmm.
just up the street, and I think I can afford them pretty much with what I make. But the good part about that is it's all single story, and just direct in. There isn't even a step up to get into the apartment. So direct in, direct out, wheelchair accessible, and I don't need one, but I like the same kind of layout that wheelchair accessible people get, with the wider doorways.
Mm-hmm.
It allows me to, you know, if my leg's acting up and I need a little extra room to get through the door, then it allows for that too. So that was our second goal that we talked about last time, is getting me in there.
Right.
So I'm really excited about that. So hopefully we can.
So you found that
Yeah, that was
place, and
yeah, that's some
It's
research that I've done.
right up the street for.
Yeah, just right up the street. It's not too far from where I currently live.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's government subsidized, so the rent is cheaper than normal apartment complexes in the area. So the reason I am looking at this is, I guess, our third problem, or was it like our fourth kind of a side problem about when I leave, my mom's not employed right now.
Right.
And when I leave, there goes like a good majority of our income, of her income and my brother's, Michael. And that's what's really hard for me is, like, I want to be able to provide for my family since my dad left, and but at the same time, I just can't take my mom anymore. I mean, I'm 20 years old and I need to be moved out by now, right? I mean, 18 is when you're supposed to be gone, that's what they say at least, and here I am. I don't know, I want to do stuff on my own, so. But yeah, that's what I'm worried about, is that when I move out, that she's not gonna be able to afford to keep the place. But this new place that I found is cheaper, and it would allow me to put some of my income towards my mom and my brother and having out there, so.
And so that is an issue that I wanted to talk to you about today, and just kind of get your idea of, do you think that it would be the best decision for your family to move out now and hope that your mom in the future gets a job?
Right.
Or if going through the process of setting up to get the apartment and getting all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff done, and waiting until your mom has a stable source of income for you to actually make the move out.
Right, and I think that's probably the route that I should go with this. I mean, it makes more sense, right, to wait until she has a job, but sometimes I don't know if she's even trying.
Has she been putting in many hours to finding a job?
She does little things here and there, and she'll, clean friends' houses for money, because all of her friends are understanding and about this, but yeah, I don't, from what I've noticed, maybe it's when I'm at work that she does it, but I haven't noticed too much of a push for a job. But as much as I want to move out, like now, it might be beneficial to both my little brother and my mom if I stay around for a little bit, and hopefully in the next year I can move out. But I think you're right. I think I need to stick around and help for a little longer, as much as it kills me.
Right. And like I said last meeting, I'm gonna be graduating and going back to my house, my parents' house.
So you know how it is.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
you can only imagine, because my mom is, I feel like she just has an overprotective personality, and then on top of the fact that I have CP, she just, I don't know, she goes overboard when it comes to me. I mean, Michael plays football, and it's something she would never dream of letting me do. I mean, granted, I can't run, but but I if I could, and maybe if the disease was just in my right arm, she still wouldn't let me do it. I do like to wrestle. I've gone to a couple practices, but she doesn't know about that. She wouldn't condone me wrestling either. But I've been to a couple practices, and that's something I really do enjoy doing, and maybe I could get a little at the community college around here. Maybe I could get a little more into that if I were to move out too.
That's what I was going to ask. If it was at the community college, or
just at the community college. I used to do that in high school as well.
Okay.
But they're a little more about telling your parents than the community college is. When you're in high school, it's still technically legal guardian and all that stuff. And I mean, I guess she technically still is, but the community college isn't as concerned with that as high school. So I did a couple practices, and then the coach called my mom, and she was like, she's not supposed to be wrestling, you know, and those are nicer words than what she said to me, at least. I wasn't there for the phone call, but what she said to me wasn't as nice. She wasn't too happy about that. But, yeah.
Yeah, and definitely, it seems like you definitely want your own space, your own
Right, but
independence, and having mom right over your shoulder all the time isn't allowing you to do that.
yeah, it's not ideal. But until she gets in that financial place where I can move out.
What was her job before this that she was laid off from?
Right. She worked at a doctor's office before this.
Okay.
She was I get her technical title was a medical assistant.
Okay.
But she didn't have schooling for it. She got it through my aunt. My aunt got her the job at the doctor's office that she worked at, and because it's a smaller office, she was just they needed help. And the doctor was like, yeah, sure, you know. But we couldn't get things like benefits. We couldn't get health care or anything like that through it, just because she was technically, I don't know, the way they did it was weird. Like, she was on staff and she could work with patients, but there were some things that she couldn't do because she doesn't have the appropriate schooling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those benefits were only for certified medical assistants, so a CMA, and she's just a medical assistant, so, or she was a medical assistant. So yeah, that's what she did before, and now, like I said, she's cleaning houses and stuff like that. We have a lot of, like, I guess more well-off family friends.
Okay.
So bigger places, things that take all day to clean, and they you know, pay her a decent amount to do that, but not nearly enough, you know, and it's not nearly frequent enough for her to earn a substantial, so that's why she's not technically employed. It's not a company, you know, they don't do anything. It's kind of like all under the table stuff, just as friends.
Yeah.
Right, so she still gets unemployed benefits, which is very helpful. That's what's really keeping her and my brother afloat right now.
So, with the unemployment benefits, you guys are able to financially keep the house.
With my income as well.
And with your income as well.
Right. That's the problem with that, is that if we subtract my income, then, I mean, so I like to think that I'm pretty good with my money, right? So I have my own savings account, and I budget every month. I go through everything, balance my checkbook, and do all that stuff. Trying to keep myself financially in check, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that I can move out. I've been trying to prepare myself for this as long as I've been able to. So that's stuff I've always done, and then so I do keep some money for myself and have money for, like, you know, fun things with my friends, and but then the majority of my money that I make, majority of my paycheck goes to my mom, and I have it in my files as rent, but it's really her rent and not mine that's paying it, so, or that it's paying for, so.
Right. Well, so I'm glad that we did talk a little bit more about the financial situation, because that was something that was concerning to me going out of our meetings last time.
Right.
So let's go into that specific problem,
Right.
and just lay out how we can go about getting you to your end goal.
Okay.
So
My end goal of moving out, right?
Yes.
With the side problem of my mom.
yeah, so let's go ahead and we'll do this together.
Right.
And we'll have goals.
Okay.
Then underneath our goal is going to be our objectives.
Right.
And so that is, our goal is the problem that wants to be solved.
Right.
And so that would be the moving out.
Yeah.
And so that's just a goal for you.
Right. That's
and
my
that's
goal.
not, taking into account the other financial
Right.
yet. But then the objective would be, how do we get to that goal? And so
Right.
it's kind of a more descriptive, measurable way of defining the goal.
Right.
And so maybe, I don't know, earning enough income to support your own financial position and your mom earning enough income
Right.
to support hers.
Yeah.
And so those are kind of measuring sticks that we can
Right. That makes sense.
jump over. So how would you like to word the objective?
I think the objective is like how we're gonna meet that goal, right?
Yeah. And then we'll have below that tasks, which are just kind of step by step
stuff, right? Objective is leave my current family situation with my mom being in a strong enough financial state to support her and my brother.
And within a year?
Within a year. That's my end goal, yeah.
Okay. So within 1 year.
Right. Leave current family situation. With my mom in a financial state to support her and my brother.
Alright. So kind of a self-sufficient financial
Right.
state.
Yep.
Alright,
Okay.
so how do you like that?
I think that looks good.
Okay, and so what are some tasks that we can go through for you to start working towards that goal?
Right.
Do you think you would want to help your mom with the job search, or do you think that's kind of her?
I think I can emotionally support her and maybe remind her
Okay.
to apply for things.
Okay. Reminding her.
Right.
So.
And yeah. Emotionally support and remind her to apply for jobs. I would, if Mr. Barnes was still my employer,
Your old supervisor?
yeah, my old supervisor, if he was still in charge, I would probably see if I could get my mom a job there, but I want as little contact with this employer as possible. So that's a hard part with that.
You know if Mr. Barnes is, you said he retired.
Right.
Is he doing any kind of thing after retirement? You had any contact with
Not
him?
that I know of. I've had a little bit of contact with him, but not enough to really get an idea for what he's doing. Last I heard, he moved to Florida, so he's enjoying it down there. I said maybe he should meet up with my dad's mom. And my grandpa passed away on that side a long time ago, so
okay.
when she retired, she moved down to Florida as well. So I like to pitch the idea that maybe they should meet up and
kindle a friendship.
Right,
or more.
right, yeah.
Or more.
I'd like to have that guy as a grandpa. He was great. But yeah, no. So I don't know that there's anything he would be able to do to help without relocating my family to Florida if he's doing anything there. So that's kind of out of the question. But yeah, emotionally support and remind mom to take applications for jobs. Yeah, to look for jobs and.
So, getting the paperwork for the apartment complex and
Right.
filling out and completing the
Right, and
application process.
I think that's that can work as a task as well.
Okay.
So, the application process for applying to the handicapped housing. Yeah. That looks good.
Okay.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I think another task needs to be like mentally preparing my mom that for me to move out, like so that she knows that I'm actually serious about this. Like I've passed the idea on to her, and like I talk about it all the time,
Sure.
but like she just brushes it off and thinks that I can't do it.
And I mean, from our last meeting, it kind of just seemed like she was wanting you to come here just so that you could revert back to being with her.
Right, and
growing.
Yeah, which is what I'd rather do. Yeah, so mentally preparing my mom for moving out.
Okay. And maybe physically preparing you.
Yeah, so getting my stuff packed and.
Right.
But I have a year for that, but still.
Right.
Right.
But like buying furniture, packing.
Just slowly move couches and odd objects into my house. Get some of the guys I know from wrestling to help move it in, you know.
Just one hand.
Yeah.
Press it up.
Yeah, I wish I could do that. Yeah, getting them to, yeah. Oh man, she'd freak out if I just started moving in couches and refrigerators and just sitting in the living room. Maybe I'll just, if I put one couch in front of the other, maybe she won't notice. No, she'll notice. But I think that'll definitely come after the mentally preparing my mom for moving out. Yeah, I think that's a good amount of tasks. Do we need?
I think that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
So moving on to our next goal.
Right.
Which be ending workplace discrimination, or would you like to?
Can we do? Well, last time we talked about my dad not paying child support, right?
Yes.
And that's another thing. That's the reason I want to go to that next. It's just I like to have it all kind of laid out and how I want it and how it needs to like happen.
Sure.
And in order to get my mom to that financial state, even if she were to get a job, it would be even better if she also had child support
Yes.
from my dad.
And yeah, it's definitely, in my mind, kind of more pressing issue
Right.
than.
Right. I think so. I think it's more pressing than me moving out as him, you know, getting his stuff together and
Sure.
be a man.
Wonderful song.
Oh yeah, I know, right?
Conclusion of our meetings, we shall skip merrily along and
Yes,
sing
of course.
it.
Well, I don't know how much skipping will work, but that's okay.
Figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Three-legged skipping, I guess.
Yeah. We'll just wrap our legs together.
There we go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So how do we want to define that goal, or write it out? To get dad to pay child support?
Yeah,
Just
because it needs to be professional, right? Get dad to pay some child support. There's a part of me that thinks it'll be easier with me gone to get him to pay that.
Yeah, why is that?
It's not that he doesn't love me. I know he does love me, but he has shown his, I guess, where he stands with favoritism between my brother and I.
Kind of
like-
favors Michael over you?
Right, because he can play football, and my dad's huge.
Sure.
He's all about football. So he goes to Michael's games and does that, and I've been in. I like theater is another thing I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so I've been in a few plays. Well, as I was in high school, I was in a few plays, and he never came to anything. And especially if they, like, my play crossed over with like a football game for Michael. There's no way he was coming to me. But that's why I think he might be better or more willing, I guess, to pay child support to my mom when he's paying child support just for my brother. It's less. He has to pay less because I'm not there anymore, right? And it's also, Michael, his star football player son.
Right.
Right.
Is that something that you would like to work on as in future meetings between your dad and your relationship? Just
Maybe. It's not something that it's been going on for so long. It's not something it's not like I don't have a harboring hatred for my dad. Like I guess if anything, he did a good job of setting the like the layout of our relationship. Right, when he left my mom, he did a good job of like setting out like, oh, I still love you and we'll talk.
Okay.
And we'll talk every week, and I'll go visit him every once in a while, and he's glad to have me there. It's not like he doesn't love me, it's not like he doesn't like me, it's just
Right.
he prefers Michael. And, it's something that at first it was hard, but like, at this point I don't really care anymore. Like, I'll go and visit him, I like his mom more than I like him, so if anything I'll go to Florida. But yeah, so it's something we can talk about, but I think that the pressing goals that we have now take precedent.
Yeah.
So
I definitely agree with you. So objectives. So
raise that child support.
And do we want to set a timeline for that as well? Contacting and getting.
Well, I think contacting is more of like a task, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, but like.
But just for like to get this whole thing rolling.
Or I guess I was thinking like contacting, going through the procedures and getting to the end point. Do we want to set it for that whole arc? Do we want to set that time?
Like a year and a half maybe?
Okay.
That way we can, over the next year, while we're trying to get my mom set up financially, we can attempt to get him to do that, but if I'm right and he will be more willing to pay less money for the son that he likes more, it's self-deprecating humor, sorry, then we have that extra half a year to convince him to do that, right?
Sure.
Well, I say we, but like the royal we, I have the extra little half a year set up there to try to convince him if I haven't already by that time. So I think that's a good timeline. Within 1.5 years, convince Dad to finally pay child support. And I guess, like, the problem is, like, I know it's something I can take to a court, right? I have friends whose parents are divorced as well, and deadbeat dads get taken to court a lot, right, for child support. But I don't have the energy to do that, working a full-time job and dealing with my mom. I don't have the energy to go to court right now, so.
And then on top of the community college classes.
Right, and moving out, if that's what's going to happen, it's a lot, and I guess it's something that once I move out, so if we have the year to move out, and we have the 1.5 years to convince my dad, when I move out and get situated, if by the end of that half a year that's set up afterwards, if by the end of that, then maybe I'll be in more of a place where I'm ready to legally push it, and at least push my mom and my brother towards legal actions against him.
And that's a great way to kind of step by step work up towards the legal action, right?
Right, because it's not, like I said, it's not something I want to jump to, but my mom deserves better treatment than this. So.
Yeah.
And that's just another also stressor to add to my relationship with my dad. But if he's not willing to take care of his son, then why should
Why should you treat him better than he should?
Right, exactly. That's what I'm thinking.
So some tasks with kind of the end task being if others fail, go towards legal action.
So I guess start up more frequent talks with my dad regarding child support.
Okay.
So kind of like easing into it, you know,
Sure.
instead of just like, hey, pay child support now. We need your help. Just
So what's a quantifiable number of talks that you could reasonably expect to get between you, your mom, and your brother, to talking to your dad about?
let's say that yeah, starting frequent talks about dad about child support. Let's say that for the first task, like the starting, call him like 3 times a week and talk to him,
Okay.
as opposed to the ones we're talking now.
All right.
Um,
So increase phone calls to
yeah,
3 times
to
a
3
week.
times a week. And then once we've kind of like eased into it and like gotten to that point where I feel more comfortable with bringing my mom and my brother into it, like that'll just have to judge between my dad and I and the conversations that we're having. Then I think we need to start all talking to him at least twice a week.
Okay.
I'll keep my 3, but also, you know, add on those 2 with Michael, and I think if we can convince Michael to talk to him, he's probably more likely to do it, so.
Sure.
That can be another task, convince Michael to talk to Dad about child support.
Okay.
I mean, he's not necessarily against it, but, you
He
know.
doesn't necessarily see the negative effects that it's having on
I just,
you guys
you know, the problem, or not the problem, I guess, the difference between Michael and I is that throughout high school and I guess throughout my whole life, I've been more like reserved and like, I'm not really shy, but what's that word?
Timid?
No,
Meek.
it starts with an I.
Introverted.
Yes, introverted, thank you.
Okay.
I've been more introverted, right? So I had a very small amount of friends through high school and only one girlfriend throughout my whole time. But Michael, you know, he's a freshman and he's the star of the varsity football team, right? So,
Right.
you know, well, maybe not the star, but he's on the
But he's
varsity
on.
football team as a
Yeah.
freshman, right? And he starts. So that's saying
That's
something, and
impressive.
especially for high school, like people love that stuff and they eat it up. So, I guess our mindsets have been in different places, right? Like, so he's focused more on friends and football than he is on academics and my mom's financial stability, I guess.
Right.
So he hasn't even, I don't even know if he's bothered to think about it. But then again, I mean, I don't know everything about Michael. So who knows what he does when the door's closed, right? He could sit there with numbers and like crunch the numbers, you know, if Adam moves out, then what are we gonna do? But as far as I know, he's, and you know, that's something I still want for him, is to be able to have that time that,
Right.
you know, and be socially active, like, you know, I can't as much, so that's something I do want from him, is to have that, but at the same time, you know, whatever. Right, so, more frequent talks,
Sure.
right?
Convince Michael to talk to
Convince
Dad.
Michael to talk to Dad. Final course of action is legal action.
Sure.
If he doesn't take it, because I can't think of too many more steps, because at the end of the day, it has to be my dad that either decides to do it, or my dad that's taken to court.
Sure.
There's not much, I can't pull the money out of his pocket, so it's more of just like building that foundation, I guess, with him, so.
Increasing the social.
Right, and that goes into the first task, and then maybe, I guess as a task we can bring in the idea of impending legal action that might make him,
So maybe add 9 months.
right, introduce the idea that, like, you know, Dad, if you don't get this stuff going in the next 9 months here, we're gonna have to do something, because you need to be doing your work too.
Sure.
Right. My mom can't have babies on her own. He put in some work here, so.
Do you want to have a kind of 3-month period to try and get Michael to.
Yeah, I think 3 months is a
Alright.
good time. It shouldn't take that long. He's a good kid, he really is. So, I don't see it taking that long, but just, in case it does.
Sure.
Give it 3 months.
And introduce possibility of
Legal action. Right. I know my dad, and that's not something he wants. So being a rough and tumble guy from Detroit, the last thing he wants is
Go
law
crawling into
the courtroom because he's not paying child support, right? And moving to Indiana was always his way of like, I'm not like the rest of the guys from Detroit, right? Like, I can financially take care of myself, and even though I'm not together with my wife, like he's like, I'm still gonna be a presence, in my son's lives, and the last thing he wants is to be a deadbeat dad. Yeah, exactly, to be proven wrong about it. So, I think that if that it's kind of like a middle fail-safe, middle ground. So, Dad, if you don't do this, like, if at 9 months we still don't have anything, I'm gonna have to,
So
yeah.
maybe introducing that as soon as you do
Right.
convince him.
Right, and then at 9
this
months,
is necessary.
and then at that 9-month interval, remind him and kind of be like, Dad, this is getting more of this is more of a serious thing than a threat. It's more of a promise. Well, this will happen if you don't.
Yeah.
So, even if I have to stay at home until that happens, I don't want to. But if it's
a serious step
yeah,
that you're willing to take
right.
in order to better your family.
I want the best for my mom. So. She's annoying, but I love her.
Yeah, family, can't live with them, can't live without them.
Exactly.
Alright, so pursue legal action at 1.5 years if
Right.
nothing else works.
Right. Okay, good. You have another piece of paper? I got worried. I was like, you're running out of room. Shouldn't double space.
I want to be able to read it, able to legibly
right.
go through it later.
Oh, I mean, I can't, like, I can write with my left arm.
Yeah.
But it's not as legible as it should be, as like my teachers want. So I have this this system with my mom's laptop. It's called Dragonfly. It's like a kind of a speech to text system, right? So I'll set up the program and pull up Microsoft Word, and they like work together, and I can be like, in 1.5 years, press legal action against my dad, and then it writes it all out and it types it all out for me, so I don't have to, I can type, but it's just not as fast than a guy with like 2 functioning arms. So, yeah.
It's amazing how much technology can help.
Right.
And
yeah.
Yeah.
I think it does.
A lot of good things that it can do, a lot of sometimes negative things it can do, but
right.
Sometimes it's more annoying than helpful.
Exactly. Alright, so
Alright.
Goal 3, I guess.
Goal 3.
Yeah, sorry, I know we're running short on time here. I don't want to keep us too long.
And
so.
you got your own life to live as
yeah.
well.
So, I'm sure you have more people to work with too.
So, goal 3 is the workplace discrimination.
Right, yes.
Okay.
Workplace discrimination.
So, to end workplace discrimination.
Right, to end. Yeah, the act of ending the workplace discrimination. So objective.
I think it should specifically zero in on your supervisor and your manager.
So how would you I mean, you know about what's going on with me, so what would you write as the objective to this?
I think reducing verbal and reducing verbal discrimination by 100% in
Great.
your supervisor, and increasing kind of the level of understanding that he has
Right.
to your situation.
Okay.
And so kind of way to make that evaluatable.
Right.
So we could put it out in the tasks in like what levels of success would be for you as
Right.
far as him understanding your situation.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, I think that's good. Get to writing, scribe.
Mm-hmm.
No, I jest.
Appreciate the medieval language.
Yes, of
Very
course.
nice.
Decrease verbal discrimination in the workplace. Well, I guess not in the workplace, but with my supervisor by 100% in 6 months. Right, I think so. Is that kind of like the pattern that you need? Kind of, yeah. I'll be taking a couple education classes at the community college, so one of the things they had us do in like the introductory classes work on like introducing us to objective writing, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of noticing a similar pattern here to that, so that's good.
It's amazing how intertwined different professions can be.
Right.
Alright, so supervisor by 100% in 6
Sounds
months.
good to me.
And then increase awareness of your situation and
Right.
or increase accommodations to your
At least the no, yeah, that sounds good. I was trying to think of something else, but the word just left my head, so I'm not going to be able to think of it. It does that sometimes.
so increase accommodations by maybe 3 days a year.
Right.
I mean that's from what you told me.
It doesn't act up too bad, but
And-
when it does, I can't move, and I'd like to, maybe set up even if we can get. That can be one of our tasks is provide him with enough information about cerebral palsy that he can allow it to move into sick days, right?
Oh yeah.
So just like, it's the same thing if you can't move away from the toilet and you can't move down your stairs because of your leg. I feel like it's like my version of a sick day with my illness, right?
How many sick days do you get at work?
Probably like 6 or so.
6. Okay.
Yeah. I'd have to reread the manual, but but who reads that thing?
Right.
But yeah, I think we get about 6. That's what I've noticed. And I do get sick days. Like he's understanding if I'm like throwing up everywhere because I have to like work personally with clients like you do.
Mm-hmm.
So being healthy is part of that, and that's why I wrestle. But
It's a little bit useful.
yeah, if we could get that included in sick days. Right.
Alright, so include CP, disability.
Let's just call it CP days.
CP.
My cerebral pulse is acting up. Like old guys with arthritis again.
Yeah, right.
My arthritis is it's kind of the same thing.
Alright, so there's that, and increase.
Supervisor's awareness.
Yeah. Kind of educate supervisor about discrimination as well.
Right.
So-
Sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. So increase supervisor's awareness of.
Yeah. Of CP day situation.
Okay.
Right.
I guess I'm trying to think of how to word that, like, incapacity.
Right.
When.
And mobility, maybe?
Yeah.
Right. 'Cause
Sure.
It's the lack of being able to move. That's the issue. What else can we do for tasks?
So, you just legally, you're entitled to non-discriminatory,
Workplace.
workplace, yeah.
Right.
And so,
Do you think there's are there laws in place for this kind of thing for like a CP day?
you can look that up.
Right.
And
I just didn't know
more
if you knew about any like.
no, I don't know anything off the top of my head for.
Okay. I mean that's understandable. You got a lot of
But-
different cases.
Yeah.
But yeah, that can be a task. Why not?
Mm.
Look up legal information for CP day. I mean, this in the end, this is for me to follow, right? I know what a CP day is.
Mhm. And look up legal info for the expectations that your boss
Right,
should
right, and just be if
should be
he's
following.
being my boss about it, I can just be like, boom, right there.
Yeah.
Can even boom, just for added dramatic effect.
The gavel drops.
Exactly.
And that should be
That's a good name
your
for my arm. I like that. The gavel. Sorry.
the workplace discrimination. It should be posted in your